Hey y'all, it's Caitlin, and before I start explaining anything that's happening on screen, let me just say I just spent the last 30 minutes sitting down editing this thing without realizing that my mic was on. So a lot of it has already been edited in terms of visuals, and I don't feel like going back and redoing it all again. So if something's not lining up with what I'm saying on screen with what I'm doing with what I'm saying on screen, please forgive me. But anyway, this is an old unicornal figure that I made years ago to resemble Zarina from Tinkerbell and the Pirate Fairy movie. It's just something I used to do a lot. You'll find a lot of early unicorn videos on my channel, which is why I named myself Funko Pops and Unicorns to begin with. And as you can see, this one did not hold up good in time. You can see here on the screen now, I am chipping away at the Crayola brand air dry clay. I was brand new at working with clay at this point, so I didn't know what would hold up over time. When this stuff turns to chalk, I mean, this is just pure chalk. It was cracking everywhere. So I just decided, and there were a few design elements that I really disliked about it, but at the same time, Zarina was my favorite of the line. I did all the Tinkerbell characters. So yeah, I decided to just go ahead and redo them all. In this video, we're just going to do Zarina, but later on we might see repaints of the other Tinkerbell characters, just because I like it. So you have to strip the entire thing down first of all. So as you can see, I'm taking my knife, and the reason I had to put some in her hair to begin with, Tokidoki, which is the brand of toys that makes this, or sorry, collectible art brand that makes these things, likes to put a lot of charms and just little things sticking out of their character's hair, especially in the later ones. In the earlier ones, not so much. It was usually just a charm on one side of their head and that was it. But this one had a lot of charms in her hair, so I had to patch it all up with the clay. And again, it didn't hold up in time. So I chipped as much as I could away with the tool, and then I soaked it in water to re-soften a lot of that chalk clay now, in order just to take it out. And I also scraped off the glitter glue that I used for the sparkle on her wings. Yeah, it was just like dollar store brand, glitter glue for kids that I just put in for a little extra sparkle. It didn't look bad, honestly. It just could have looked way better. And after bathing in the water, had to bathe in the acetone to get all the paint off, which I did not do. I don't really show what it looked like completely bare of paint, but I did not get it completely bare of paint. I put at least a good 3 to 4 coats of paint on every time I redo a figure, so I did the best I could. This stuff is this was the first time I ever used it. It's epoxy sculpt. I saw a lot of more professional YouTubers use it for their custom, like especially the doll customizers like Dollmotion and Hextian use it. First off, you have to wear gloves while you're doing it, because apparently if you don't, your skin will dry out to the point where it's painful if you work with the stuff for a long amount of time, as well as other skin irritation, I guess. But I used it to fill up all the holes and smooth it out to make, you could see in the beginning that air dry clay, I just could not get it smooth into the figure. There's some air dry clays that you can. The Crayola brand, leave that for the kids, not the professionals. But this stuff definitely works. You have to mix equal parts of A and B together, and then wait several hours for it to cure. But as it cures, you can still kind of work with it. You can still smooth it out a little bit after it starts darning a little, just to have a little bit more control over what's happening, which I liked. And then after it's completely cured, you can sand it. So I didn't show it, but I sanded some of the hair down where it was a little bit too flat, and I wanted to show the curve of the mane on the back of it. I also used this to create the skirt, which I think you'll see here in a little bit. The one downside of working with this thing, well, one is the curing time, and two, it smells kind of weird. The first part, the part A, doesn't smell at all. But part B smells almost like the earth, like dirt. So not unpleasant, but weird. You can also, like air dry clay, you can also use water to smooth down the parts, like you can see right here with the skirt. Now the skirt I did not do nearly as well as I wished I had. It needed to be thinner around the base of the skirt. Zarina is the only fairy that wears a skirt slash dress that's made of cloth. All the others are like leaves or flowers. So she's a little bit different in that sense. So I tried to make it a solid piece of cloth the best I could. And as I'm smoothing it down, I'm working it in between the grooves above her tail and in between her back legs. So I had to get more epoxy out to redo it. And I would say, if you guys get this, to try to make sure that you're working with just the right amount. These two little bottles of it, which, you know, you have to use them together, you can't buy them separately, $22 on Amazon. Holy crap, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. So I actually did use too much towards the end, and I had to like make some other stuff with it. But here I am making Zarina's sword. What happened to the original Zarina sword I made? I have no clue. It just vanished when I moved it. There's no telling what happened to it. But she does carry a sword, so I take a toothpick, break part of it off, and just start by making that little ball that you saw. Now on the left of this, well, first off, you can see that I primed the figure with white off screen, and that I am starting to put in the skin color on her face and her body. On the left, you can see a little squiggle. That's for the decoration on the sword, the hilt of the sword. And the little circle is to put her little charm. With all the fairies, I made a charm for each of them, which kind of was a throwback to the original Tokidoki figure that represented each of the characters. Now here is where I start the almost seemingly endless paint mixing of this video. I could not remember which colors I originally used for her hair, so I just started using red and brown, which she has reddish brown hair. I completely forgot that I used orange somewhere along the line. I eventually remembered it. This first coat that you're going to see me putting on here, I did not like the color. It looked even worse in real life than it does on the camera. So off camera, I put in a little bit more brown and a little bit of orange to finish painting the hair and the mane and the tail to make it the perfect Zarina color. Next, I took my brand new little baby brush, one of my baby brushes. They're actually nail art brushes. I bought a pack of 5 off Amazon. On one side, it's a very, very tiny brush, and on the other side, it's a dotting tool. So I absolutely love these things for painting small figures. I am using it so freaking much. It's incredible. But right here, I'm using it to put in the detail of Zarina's blouse. She wears a white blouse with like ruffled edges, so you can see me putting that on here. For the next part, I put in some deep green along with some gold. Zarina's skirt, boots, and hairband look like satiny kind of green. So in the original one, if you look back at the beginning, I just put green paint and put gold sparkles on top of it with more of that glitter glue. So I decided to add the gold just to make it a little bit shimmery. There's not too much gold in it in the actual color, but it did serve to make it very shimmery, and I did really like the effect. Once that first layer of the skirt is on, and eventually I do paint the boots and the hairband, I just completely forgot about them until later on in the video. But I decided to go ahead and start making the black part of the eyes. Again, on the original figure, they were oval shaped, which is what they were on the original Tokidoki figure. Tokidoki just makes oval-like eyes, solid black, to put on their unicornos. Eventually, I started out doing that too on a lot of these figures, these unicorn figures. Eventually, I started putting in the little pupils and irises and stuff, but it looks okay, but not nearly as good as the full-eyed look. So it's about time Zarina gets full eyes, and the only hard part about this is to make sure that it's the same size on both sides of the head, like both eyes are the same side and symmetrical. Not that easy, but if you have the patience enough to go in and kind of wash away some of the paint you already put in and put some more over it, eventually you can make them somewhat even to the point where it's, you know, bearable. And I did put in the whites of the eyes that makes it look super, super creepy off screen, but here you can see I'm putting in her corset with the brown paint now. And again with my little brush. I love these things so much. But I also put it in between the wings so you can see it going all the way around. And there will be a still shot at the end so you can see the figure from underneath, which is where a lot of the detail goes, because that's essentially the front part of her, you know, outfit. To me, not paint. I could just, you know, leave it generic, you know, just put the base colors on and forget it. But I do try to put in all the details I can on the bottom of the figure, because to me that's like if Funko just made up the backs of all the figures, you know, white or something. It wouldn't be very interesting. So you will see a still shot of that at the end, since I know you can't see it very well in the camera. Here I'm trying to mix some brown, some yellow, and some white to create a hazel eye color, which was as close as I could really get to Zarina at all. Like, her eyes just aren't really clearly seen in the movie, to my knowledge. So yeah, I just went with a color that I can be somewhat happy with and put it on. Here's where I started to make a mistake. I started making the irises, you know, full-on circles till I realized it's not supposed to look as creepy as this. So I remembered I'm supposed to make them look forward. That's how long it's been since I've done one of these unicorn figures. I haven't done one since I did the last one on YouTube, which was probably over a year ago by now. But yeah, I made it so that they are looking frontward for the irises. I try to be as neat as possible, but I do go back in off camera and kneading up some edges when it comes to the eyes. Getting the epoxy back out to create the belt, which, like the skirt, I think came out a little bit too thick, but whatever. And I did make it go in between the wings as well. I had to create a separate piece to go in between the wings. I smoothed it in with a dotting tool and some water just to make it all as smooth as possible. I did create some more epoxy than I needed to, dang it, as you can see kind of lying there. So I went ahead and made charms for the other unicorn figures that I want to redo in the future, like the charms for the other Tinkerbell characters. So if you guys are very interested in this, there'll probably be at least one more, because chances are I'll need one for November. I already have October and kind of Christmas planned out, or December planned out. But I don't have one for November, so we might be seeing a very similar video in November. So hopefully you guys like it. But yeah, I did go ahead and create the charms for the other characters, or at least the shape of them. And okay, so and then I go in and paint the pupil of her eyes as well as her belt black. And here is where you see me wasting a lot of time. I shortened it down in the video. I probably spent a good 10 minutes trying to get this paint to reactivate. This was light yellow paint that I made years ago, probably like a year ago, and it was just so thick I couldn't work with it. So I tried to put a few drops of paint thinner in at a time to thin it out, and I did end up using a layer of it on the wings. However, because, you know, I realized looking at the picture of Zarina, her wings give off a bit of a yellow tint instead of a blue like I originally had them. I just made them blue and sparkly to kind of give up a kind of transparency feel. I know it sounds stupid because it is. So I decided to make it yellow, and I was planning on going ahead and using some more glitter, but then I realized, wait a minute, I have metallic paint now, which can make it look very more magical almost, I guess you could say. I say skeptically. But yeah, I do put a layer of this yellow down, but later on I do go in with my metallic yellow paint to make it look a lot prettier than this crap. I then go in, by the way, I'm finally caught up to where I was finished editing before, and then I realized my mic was off, so might be a little bit more even from here on out. With some silver paint, I went in and made the lines that go all the way across Zarina's outfit. You can see here how the belt is a lot thicker than I wanted it to be. Oh well, it still looks okay, I guess. So yeah, I just used my angled brush for that, and then after that I went in with my dotting tool and put in some dots because Zarina has these little red jewels, I guess, or beads, all around her belt in patterns of 9. So I just went in with a dotting tool to make them all white, and then I go in later with my metallic red. Again, the old one was just regular red, so I'm glad I got the metallic red now to put in all the little jewels and stuff. So it looks really good, and again, you'll see the final result at the end. With the sword painted silver, I went in and put a small drop of glue on the little swirly thing to attach it around the sword, but to glue the little swirly hilt on there. Her hilt is also jeweled, so off camera I put 2 small little rhinestones, I guess, on both sides of the hilt. I know my hand's covering up, but again, you'll get the 360 at the end. So after this, after that was dry, I went ahead and glued it onto the figure after I got the jewels on there. Small dot I made earlier, put a little bit of glue on it and just sprinkled all the different color glitters that I wanted. If you're not familiar with the movie, Zarina experiments with the fairy's pixie dust and pretty much creates all these different colors to represent the different talents that fairies have, such as blue is the water talent fairy and pink is the garden fairy's talent, and she just kind of manipulates it in a way. So I figured a big dollop that was supposed to feature many different colors of pixie dust will work. So I put the gold, which is the base color of all pixie dust, and then later on I put in the colored glitters as well to represent the other, or most of the other colors of the pixie dust that Zarina experiments with. So with everything finally glued on there, the sword on her hoof, I guess, and the little charm on her forehead, Zarina is all done, along with 2 coats of varnish. So this thing looks, I think, way better than it did at the beginning of the video, obviously, because there's no more cracks in it. And I'm still very happy. Zarina is the one that I put the most detail in when I first started doing these unicorn figures, and this figure will always hold a special place in my heart. You can also see off camera I did do her little bracelet on her hoof as well. I just forgot to put that or record it. But yeah, this thing looks amazing, way better than it did, again, at the beginning. So I'm very proud of it. And again, this was the reason why I named my channel Funko Pops and Unicorns, because I was thinking of doing these, instead of doing my craft and custom, videos, I would just keep doing these unicorn figures. So chances are you'll get to see another one of these by the end of the year. And hopefully you guys like it, because I definitely enjoy making these videos. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Remember, like always, it's a community, not a competition, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.